All right, guys, welcome back to the ZZX Digital Podcast or ZZX Digital Podcast. As I would say, as always, but it's really only the second one. Me, Jacob, and Kyle. Since so far, I think we're at like 30 people. Really enjoyed the first episode, so we're gonna make the second one like very similar to this. Topics for today are we're gonna kind of go over post PRI. Which it just has some generally good info, even if you didn't go, just industry stuff that we picked up there. We're going to talk about the new Gymkhana because a new one came out since the last recording, which is probably my favorite one so far. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's up there anyways. It's definitely top 3. So
I know we want to go over those two. Everybody is talking about ChatGPT. It is something that we are actually using in our company right now, so we can give you some real world feedback, whether you are a content creator or a business owner or a marketing agency, have some feedback on the good, the bad, the crazy with that. And then, I mean, this is kind of part of PRI, but Grid Life. We should definitely talk about Grid Life because huge announcements, new tracks,
very big announcements,
wild shit. And somebody actually listened to our entire podcast and submitted the first channel. So make sure to stick around for that. If you are interested in being featured as our, what are we going to call this? Like creator shout out? Channel shout out?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
free
I
sponsored
haven't really
spot.
thought of a catchy name yet.
I know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, free sponsored spot. It'll come up at the end. Cool channel. So we'll get to that. But let's kick it off with PRI. So second PRI for you. Fourth or fifth for me. I can't remember now. But what were your thoughts overall? What were your thoughts?
Honestly, it took a couple of days for me to remember my thoughts. I had like a little bit of a hangover after, not from partying or anything, but just like information overload. Yeah. Overlord. It was, overlord. No, it was, there was a lot. It was completely different. Like last year when we went, I think because we were coming off of how slow it had been with, the coronavirus stuff, that when we got there was so many people were going hard. There were so many like big YouTubers, and it was like kind of everybody was there, and SEMA was so small that year. This year when we were going, knowing how big SEMA was, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. Yeah. And it seemed to be, like I said, less flashy, if that makes sense, but it seemed much more exciting. Like, I know we'll touch on it after, but like the Grid Life announcement, like the way that was even handled, like we packed a room, like one of the giant boardrooms in there, like people are standing out at the door. Yeah. And they couldn't even get in. So it was definitely a lot of fun. It was busy though.
Yeah, it was definitely packed. Yeah. I think the having good shoes definitely was key for this one. It was wild. I mean, a quick shout out to the guys from the Discord that came out. That was super cool. I think there was four guys from Discord that ended up making it out. That was, first of all, that was fantastic. And thank you guys for coming. That was great. I really enjoyed that part. I feel bad because I know I personally didn't get a lot of time to spend and do more, but just hearing the feedback afterwards was great. And it looks like a couple of people are walking away with some deals or some potential deals even for next year. So that part was awesome. It was definitely busy. I know we went into it with a pretty good game plan. But I think the thing we learned though is like you need to adapt. Like that game plan went to shit pretty quick.
Like in 45 minutes. Yeah. Right. Like it was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we still hit the things. We had a contract re-signing to do. We had a couple of pitches to do. We've got a very large deal that's in the works that I can't really talk about until early next year. But very, very large deal. There was a lot of like negotiating with that. There was 2 dinners that we had to go to, which almost turned into 3. And then, and then what else was there? I mean, obviously the Grid Life stuff. And then it was funny, you and I, on the Saturday, we kind of said, let's just do Saturday as like take it easy. We'll do like cleanup.
Kind of a throwaway day almost.
Yeah. We'll just stop in. We'll see everybody, get the handshakes and the hugs in. And that was arguably the busiest day. Like both for
It was
people.
the most productive.
It was definitely the most productive. Like actual closing of shit, it was probably the best one. So it was a lot of like build up and set up through Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday we kind of came through to see everybody again. And then it was like, okay, we're doing this, right? And then that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was wild.
No, it was like, it was definitely the public was pretty heavy on Friday. So that was, I think, one of the things we struggled with, or at least I did, was like trying to make sure that we made it to the places we had
physically moving through the crowd.
Yeah, physically moving. And also the people that you need to talk to are busy, right? They're interacting with the public and stuff like that. So definitely Thursday is the day to hit it hard. Yeah. Like if you're there as a business and you're trying to make your connections and contacts. But like I said, it definitely, you needed to be able to adapt, but you still needed to have that kind of outline of a checklist almost of, these are the places I need to hit. But like you said, we had to definitely change that. So it was definitely fluid.
Yeah. You could like run through there on Thursday. Like you could arms wide out and run through and it'd be fine. And then on Saturday, it was like home of the slow walkers, and just trying to get from part to part was like, if you weren't in like the main middle artery through the halls, like you couldn't move.
And it took almost a day just to get acclimated to like where everything is to begin with, because it's such a large venue, right?
Yeah.
And I did a couple of laps just between going back and forth and trying to get to places and make sure you made it to the places you were supposed to go to. So, yeah, but it was definitely, like I said, Thursday was just, the miles we put on Thursday is insane.
Yeah. We kind of got around exhausted and saw everybody on Thursday, and then more or less had some strategic stuff that had to get done on Friday, and then Saturday was the cleanup. But yeah, it was good. I had a shitload of fun. We had 2 fantastic dinners, which, I mean, I think that's like such a huge part of it too, is just like those dinners and parties. Was it O'Reilly's, and like having all the FD guys there was super cool.
Yeah, you're just hanging out, and then all of a sudden you look over and it's like everybody from FD is here. Yeah. And it was just, it was chill too. Like it wasn't super stuffy. Nobody was like weird about it. It was just everyone hanging out and, chilling, and the deals were still going down at the bar. Actually, there was more. I mean, there was one in particular that, somebody who is like staunch opposed to a particular brand. We literally sat there and watched them get converted in front of us. And we were laughing the whole time. Unfold. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty good. I do think the one thing we walked away from, I guess, learning this year was budgets and how late they're getting pushed. So to kind of get everybody else up to speed, most of the time with even like, it doesn't even have to be like a large company, like medium businesses. I would say anything over like maybe 10 employees is probably like a good threshold. Usually they're making predictions or setting budgets based on a quarter. So like every 3 months. And normally they set a quarter this budget like at the end or near the end of the previous quarter, right? So most companies who know what they're, and same thing with like yearly budgets, right? You're going to set that budget more or less in an amount of time that you can react to it. So traditionally what you would see is like a company, their next year's budget or their first quarter's budget is going to be set by like October, November. And then they would be able to make sponsorship decisions because they already know what budget they're working with. And what we found is like, even at PRI, I would say the vast majority of people we spoke to are like, hey, either we've just got our budget and we haven't even figured out allocation, or we haven't even gotten that far yet. Like we wanted to wait till Black Friday was done. We had to see how holiday shopping was going. We're still feeling out this buyer slowdown and if it's happening. And what has been interesting though, on that note, like not to swap topics, but the industry doesn't seem to be super worried about the buyer slowdown. A lot of them have said it's plateaued. That wasn't the impression that we got.
Yeah, a lot of them have said like it's kind of plateaued, or at least like the drop is steadily smoothing out, which was good. And there's a lot of like key indicators within the market that kind of show that as well. Not that I'm a financial wizard by any means, but obviously we have to keep an eye on that shit like that, because when buyer slowdown happens, our data and analytics look very different. Not they look bad, but it's like tactics wise. Like we try to build more brand awareness and get people engaged with the brand as opposed to just trying to sell to a brand. But like when people are buying, you're trying to sell to them. So it's like you just have to change tack.
but that was probably this year. That was, again, I haven't been around for 5 or 6 years, but just in contrast to last year, when we went to go and talk to brands last year, with drivers and working on deals, they at least knew what they could offer. I don't want to say it's just the yes or no. It was that they knew how deep into their pockets they could go. Yeah. Whereas this year it was, nobody wanted to give you a clear answer. And that's from everybody, from the guy asking for, a couple of $100 for each round of his first season, to people who have been racing for years. They're all getting the same answers from big brands that, like, I want to tell you yes, no, maybe, but I don't even have the information yet. So yeah, I think it was like a really big eye opener for people to just kind of hang in there and keep putting in the effort after the fact. Like, you need to still be on these brands' radars after PRI, follow up emails, keep the conversation open, because as soon as that money gets released, or they know how much they have to release, you want to be the first person in their memory for that. So
yeah. And I mean, we've kind of been chatting about that, like in the PRI channel as well. I think you put in a good post about it. You literally actually have it up now. You're like, I want to stay top of mind, reach out soon. It's a tough line to walk, being pushy and being persistent. So I don't think I could have put it any better. It's you have to stay top of mind, but don't be rude. Don't be ignorant about it. Like, yeah.
No, but there's nothing wrong with following up to whoever it is that you're speaking with and saying, like, hey, just wanted to check in to let you know that I enjoyed hanging out, or I enjoyed our time and talking or whatever. Let me know when the numbers come in, your marketing guys off of vacation, whatever it is. And again, don't send somebody 6 emails a day, because they're just going to, they're just going to say no.
One a week. I mean, if you're not getting a ton of response back, another good one is like get a scheduling app like Calendly, and then present that to them, and then they can choose a time that works best for them. Then you kind of put the ball in their court. That's always worked really well for me. But yeah, I mean, overall, PRI was, like I said, it was excellent. I had no qualms about it. I mean, other than like the walking tacos hitting us particularly hard on the way home. So,
and that we didn't get a chance to go karting.
Yeah,
wanted to go, but I mean, we had our dinners.
We had the
tough.
slightest opportunity to go at one point, but then we would have had to bail on a whole bunch of people. And I was like, I'm not. That's not something I'm going to do right now. Like, I really want to go karting. But I'm like, we can't miss these opportunities. Yeah. So like that was kind of the weighing back and forth on that decision. So I think we made the right call though.
I agree. Yeah. It was, more business was had not going, but I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't want to go karting with a bunch of race car drivers. Like,
you say that until you just get absolutely smashed. And then it's like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, I know. It's if you're going to lose to somebody who's really good at it.
That's right. There's like, at least there's an excuse at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, cool. All right. So let's get on to Gymkhana. New one comes out, Travis Pastrana based, back to the Subi roots. Felt way less like a commercial.
Yeah. Well, I didn't take it seriously at first because it opens, spoiler alert.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it.
It opens with him, like crashing into the ground on a base jumping incident. And I was like, did they like spoof this? Like, it looked like a real hit.
Yeah.
And then of course do the research, and he got extremely hurt. Like, that was first days of shooting. So, to open it with that, you're like, huh, right. It just kind of puts you into Travis's headspace of how he wanted to, make the impact he wanted to have on the video. And then as you watch it, you're like, it's slow, right? And then as you watch it, it slowly builds, and then all of a sudden goes bananas. Like, you're like, oh, this is pretty sweet. I mean, they 50-50 a rail with a car. That's pretty sweet.
It's like the most, like, everybody talks about the big jumps. Don't get me wrong. The big jumps and shit are fantastic, but like, that was arguably my favorite part of the whole thing. And people are like, oh, what about like the giant nosedive? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen the Dukes of Hazzard.
People talk about it less because it was so smooth. It happened, and I was like, did this just happen? Like,
there's no
car
drama.
Took it like a champ. Yeah, and that car. Shout out to those guys for building a tank. Mm-hmm. the fact that that thing handled all the jumps, the nosedives and all that stuff, and I'm sure that there were repairs in between, but that it was still kicking at the end is a testament to just a well-built machine.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, I was kind of hoping that the active aero that they built into it would have stalled the back a bit more or caused enough resistance in the back.
Similar to the was it Air Slayer, his other his hill climb car. Yeah,
that's kind of what I was hoping it would do is like open those up. But then I kind of realized there was also active aero, I think, in the front. So like it probably all just turns on. So
I believe the front one would have been what caused a bit of that issue on the nosedive over the jump over the bridge, I guess.
It was also a really short jump. So like, you know, the suspension is unloading in the rear and the front is already over it. So like you can watch it, you know, I'm not like a jump expert, but like you can see it like kick it, and like the moment he comes off, you're like, oh shit, because like it's like plowing as it's going forward, like right off the end.
Anybody who's ever ridden a dirt bike or a pit bike and hit a jump that's way too small, going way too fast, you know exactly the feeling where the back just kicks up and there's nothing you can do. So yeah,
it looks like he tried to throttle out of it. I mean, he landed and somehow kept it, you know, proper side down, but
yeah,
it's fucking wild that he survived that the car survived that.
But this video coming off the heels of
Electricana.
Yeah, Electricana. Like, how do you feel about that contrast? Like, this is Travis is a total different, similar style of driver, kind of. Like, I don't even know how to put that. Like, him and Ken are both precision drivers, but in a completely different way. And these two videos showcase both of them really well, but completely differently.
I look at it as like the mullet of Hoonigan, where it's like business in the front, party in the back. Like the Electricana, don't get me wrong, was incredible. And like, I'm not taking anything away from it, but like the money that they would have made just in sponsorship to do that probably gave them the freedom to be able to, and like, they didn't blow any massive budget. I mean, they closed down a couple of old bridges. Like one of them, it was already screwed. So like, it probably wasn't a high cost video unless there's a part that I'm forgetting, but like but either way, I feel like Electricana was like, okay, we're going to do this, but then this is what we actually want to do. Right.
Yeah. Go loose, get Cletus to be doing a burnout while you guys are racing down.
Which is like a great cameo.
I mean,
I love that cameo. Sick, and I know you're a massive Cletus fan, so you would have appreciated that way more than I did. And like,
yeah, it was just it was a sketchy compounded, you know what I mean? Like the square root of sketchiness right there.
Yeah. Cause he's doing a burnout at what, like how fast was he going? It was well over 100 miles an hour.
I don't know,
still just absolutely destroying those tires.
And not on a prepped surface. There are palm trees everywhere. Like that's just,
yeah, no, I mean, overall it was fantastic. Like I have zero issues with it. It was a lot more gritty. It was funny. The Subaru like commercial at the end was fantastic. Like
I liked it. Yeah. It's again, we're in marketing. So obviously that's what we're going to pick up on and enjoy. But I didn't think it was like, you know, distasteful or anything. I was like, oh yeah, throw an ad in there.
It was a good brand integration. It was like, it was one of those like, listen, we've just given you all of this insane stuff for absolutely nothing. The least you can do is watch this cheesy commercial, which was also really funny and well put together to inform you of a new product. It wasn't like you should go buy this. It wasn't like we built this car to do this shit. It's like, look here is this insane show. By the way, Subaru released a new car. That was it.
Yeah. Like, and here's us doing a little bit with it. Okay. Now back to just a little bit of craziness to end it off.
Exactly. And like,
it was well done.
That is how you do that. Like in my mind, that is a good brand integration. That is a great way, one, to get people's attention, to keep them engaged in the video. And I'm sure if you like watched, and here's what's interesting too, is like in the same way that like Marvel has the post-credit sequences, Hoonigan did the same thing where like it was a mid-roll ad realistically, but it was near the end and they left enough of the video left in the timeline for you to be like, well, I'll just sit through it quick.
I'm not going to leave.
Yeah, I'll just sit through it quick because like I know all the crashes and shit are about to happen. So, you know, shouts out to I mean, it goes without saying, Hoonigan's marketing team is incredible. They're top notch. they're arguably the best in the business right now, at least in the automotive side. I will say that like there are other companies other marketing brands that do incredible work in other stuff, but like they set the tone for what everybody else should do. Not even should do, because like in my mind, you shouldn't just follow somebody else blindly just because they did something cool. But they definitely set a standard.
And we're going on a dozen of these videos, and there aren't any of them that are really bad that I can think of. There are ones that are better than others, but to be able to just continually raise the bar and do something different, like this one had different stuff in it that we hadn't seen before. Like it's not stale, it's not garbage regurgitated content. It's always new. It's always pushing the boundaries. It's always, again, just being creative. And that takes a lot for them to do that every time, to come up with bangers like one after another. And it's not like 10 years in the middle either. Like Gymkhana, I know that they worked on that video for a long time, but that was only a couple of months ago that was released, right? Yeah. And then to have this release now it's wild.
Yeah, it's good timing. I think it's interesting that they like time it during specific like automotive events as well. Like obviously Gymkhana comes out before SEMA. This one comes out just before PRI. I don't know if that was like intentional or just the way it came out. Part of it also is like, it comes out before Black Friday. It also comes out before Christmas season, where it's like, oh, hey mom, like, because I believe there was like a merch line. There's going to be some sort of merch attached to this. Like, yeah, this is all very well thought out. This is all very well planned. Like, make no mistake, there was no mistake made. Like they did this correctly. So
yeah, nothing was on accident.
Right? No. For the record, I'm pretty sure it's by accident. This is like one of those weird pet peeves I have when people call it on accident. It's fine. But like, I will always correct you on that one. You can't even say I can't say shit. Like I'm the worst at spelling, and nobody says anything about it, even though I know I'm terrible.
I just fix it. That's it.
Speaking of spelling mistakes, let's talk about ChatGPT, because it makes no spelling mistakes. I've been using it like a spell checker, to be honest with you.
That's why all of your content has been coming out much more crisp and clean and without errors.
Yes. So between like using Google Doc as a spell check, using Grammarly, and now ChatGPT as a spell check, I should never spell anything wrong again. So if you don't know, there's a large company called OpenAI who, they're not even the leader in AI, but they're probably the most public-facing company that's doing AI. They released a new chat tool called ChatGPT, which is based on GPT-3, which is their all-in AI integration up until 2021. So it basically has all the information that their automation and deep learning systems have picked up since 2021. And then they've turned it into a chat tool, similar to like stuff that you would have learned on like MS. Like, I don't know, there was like old chatbots on MSN. I don't know if you remember those. Yes. I just like totally aged myself with that one.
Yeah, you just dated yourself there.
Yeah, for the older crowd, you remember that little like paperclip? It was like that thing. And then for the newer crowd, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
TikTok filters. But anyways, it's completely free to use. I think you have to sign up for an account, but people are like very much pushing the limits of what it can do. So it's native in every language, including almost every coding language, which has helped me a lot in the last week, to be honest with you. And it understands tone, it understands inflection, it understands obviously grammar and punctuation and character counts. So like, if you're into marketing, it's not like I can just tell it, hey, create like the best Facebook ad ever. But I can essentially say, you know, here's what I'm thinking, here's how I want you to format it, and it will start doing that for me, and then I can go and like clean it up and then add my own flair to it from there. So it's wild.
It still has to have a little bit of the human oversight, right? It's not like you say the AI writing bots that were kind of a little bit more popular a year ago and then were very unpopular. But from what I've seen come out from it, like between stuff that you've done and stuff that our other writers have done, it seems to be like pretty good. Again, you have to, I don't want to say babysit it, but you have to obviously put a human eye on it and make sure there's no, stuff that everything actually makes sense. But yeah, it seems to be changing the game.
It's definitely different. I mean, like I said, at this point, I don't think it is a tool that's going to completely replace a human. What I do think it's done, and what it's done for us, is it's allowed us to reserve creativity. I think is probably the best way I can explain it, where it's like, normally, we'll spend meetings where we're like pitching ideas off each other, or we're trying to figure out a standpoint, or like a client has sent us an idea of what they want. And then you have to use up creative energy to like try and create something. And it can be very difficult to get a thought in your head and then convey it to somebody who also has their own thought in their head. What I like it for is like, I have an idea of what I want. I can like describe it to that thing, and it doesn't have its own idea of what it should be. It's just trying to create what you're telling it. Like, it doesn't have an opinion on what you're telling it. So it's just having this great sounding board that can present you examples after. And it just reserves so much creativity that like, I'll get it to a point, I'll get an ad or a blog post or something like that to like 70%. I think that's probably a safe point. To about 70%. And then I go, oh, I know where I want to go with this now. And like, me trying to tell it what to do is no longer, I'm at the point of diminishing return. And the only way to fix this and get it to the finish line is just to do it myself. And then I just take it from there. And it's phenomenal in that regard.
But you save, like you said, so much creative power, we'll call it, right? Because you only have so much of it in a day that you can use. Yeah. Like, that's how it feels some days, right? So you're not wasting it just banging your head against a wall trying to get one sentence down, because once, like you said, once you have that idea to build off of, everything just kind of seems to fall in place. And to have something that can not only just start the idea, but be good at it, like give you ideas at the same time, right? And it's, like you said, the fact that it's writing unbiased, right? Yeah. It's writing without your preconceived idea, that has a little bit of a different charm to it.
Yeah. And to be clear as well, there is a ton of AI writing and copywriting and ad writing and image-based tools. Like, this is not the first by any means. There's a whole bunch. And last Christmas I went and demoed it. Over Christmas break, I have like a bad habit of like, okay, this is when I try software, and this is when we like redo infrastructure and stuff. And like, so I demoed a bunch of them, and last year they weren't at a place, and they also weren't, I didn't see the value in it at that point. And Google for the last year has very much been combating AI. To stop this from happening, where like, it's interesting, like Google's AI is able to recognize AI written word, based on its actual lack of flaws, which is interesting. And like, if you're trying to like gain SEO by just using AI, there's actual issues with that. And if you get caught, you can be downranked. So yeah, there's plenty of other tools out there, but what's different with this is that it's not just one tool. Like, the tools that I've tried before were just meant for blogs, or just meant for Facebook or Google ads, or just meant for, whatever, Twitter threads. This is like everything. And like, on the code side of it too, like, I had an issue last week where I was trying to bold a hyperlink. So that way it, like, if somebody needed something, it was an email thing. It was like, for a store, if something was out of stock, it said, please email before placing your order to understand what the potential shipping time could be. And we wanted that. And like, when you looked at it on the page, it needed to be bold, so it stood out, so people would hit that. It had to sit in a very particular spot. And I could not make it happen. It kept like left justifying, kept doing all this shit. And it's on Shopify. So like, you can use CSS, but you also have to use Liquid, which is their own code. So it's this very like, I know there's probably somebody who knows code really well. It's like, this is like 3 lines, dude. I'm like, yeah. And it was like 4 lines. But I put in the problem. I wrote it out very similar to how I said it. What's going to be really interesting is when you can, I don't know if it has like a microphone adaptation where like you can speak to it. Because that,
speak to it. Yeah.
Holy fuck. Because that'll change it. That'll change. If it doesn't, it might already have that. Now I need to check. But I basically dictated out this issue, and it spit out the code immediately. And it was like, here you go. This is it. And I went copy and paste and then preview. And I went, oh, that's perfect. Like, what, and there was no write-up on this. Like I could not find the specific example anywhere. I found similar things and I spent 2 hours trying to demo to get it to work and it didn't work. And in this case, I spent 2 minutes typing out what I wanted and it spent 15 seconds producing it and then I was done. So yeah, could it write an entire website for you? Probably, to be honest with you.
It probably could, but
it's just not
like I said,
that point yet.
Which is good news for us as writers.
Yeah.
That at least we're still needed to be around and check things.
So yeah, you cannot right now speak directly to it to get it to type to text, but you could use a Windows plugin or a Mac plugin or something to do that for you. So I should probably just install that. And then I'm just going to be yelling at my computer all day. No ChatGPT. So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend people play with it. Don't do it during working hours because it keeps crashing it and I'm getting really upset. I highly recommend you go and look at it. Do not use this as a tool to replace somebody. But if you are looking at getting, I will say this right now, if you are lost in your career, you are looking to get into some sort of marketing and you want a cool direction and be ahead of everybody, learn how to work with AI. Not develop or build it, but how to prompt it correctly.
In tandem.
Yes.
Yeah.
How to learn how to prompt it. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it. Like it's not manipulate. It's just
no, but there's an art in asking the question.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
That the question needs to be asked properly to get the answer you need.
Yes.
So you learn how to ask those questions in the way that the chat or that the AI needs to hear it. Right.
Yeah. What's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Right. What is the answer to the universe and life and everything overall? And it says 42. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, well, you didn't ask the right question. So like now we're going to build a bigger robot to figure out what the correct question is.
There we go. It's
only as good as your input. That's how I see
right.
it. But it's fucking really good. Cool. Speaking else, it's really good. Oh, I love these segues. I'm going to practice these. Grid Life has announced its tentative schedule.
Yep.
What's crazy is there's still more to come. Like Alpine Horizons wasn't even
TBDs there.
Yeah, Alpine Horizons wasn't
even
even
talk about it.
I know. Like one of their coolest events, bar none. They were like, "Hey, hold my beer.
We don't need it.
We haven't even worked on that yet because we got crazier shit." Which was just wild. I probably should have pulled this up ahead of time. So I should let you.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of things that they're going back to Lime Rock, right? Which is so I guess like the biggest thing is that they're separating the events into the more driver focused events, which are, I can't remember what they're called already, as if I already forgot that, but, and then the festival style events. That way you're not going to one expecting the other, right? Going to a festival style event and expecting to get as much seat time as possible, or somebody who wants to have more of the atmosphere and more of the party side of it as well, doesn't end up going to an event that's just lapping all day and night. So it's just, so I like that they split things up like that. And obviously
they've always had it like that, but like this was it made it much easier to consume what you're getting. Right. Yeah.
I guess like what I meant was that they simplified it, right? Like they made it so that anybody who's, if my spouse is looking to buy me tickets and she could easily figure it out, because we actually went through this of her trying to buy me tickets last year,
right?
That she wasn't sure, right? Which ones to go for. Now it's a lot easier for her to figure out, but it's also, they went to 12 events this year from 15, but they added some major tracks.
Yes. I think the easiest one to go towards is Laguna Seca, which is going to be a festival, and it doesn't sound like there'll be any sound limits at all.
No sound ordinance, and they are supposed to be allowing drift, which...
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I finally got the schedule pulled up here. So let me just move this to another. Yeah. Like good job stalling both of us.
I mean, it's the last round, right? Or, well, it's not the last. It's late in the year.
No,
it happens just after Irwindale, right?
It's the week after Irwindale. The last one? Yeah. So,
which is perfect, because that means that if they're allowing drifting there, I mean, there are a whole bunch of professional level drift cars that will already be in California that don't need to run the next month, so they can just, be ridden hard and put away wet. So
yeah, it's gonna, as long as the cars are still together, right? That's the big thing. So super lap battle at Coda. That's how they start the season, which is wild.
Yeah.
Spring kickoff at Carolina Motorsport Park. So South Carolina, cool that they're getting back to like as close to Atlanta, I guess, as you can. Because that crowd is massive. And I think chatting with Chris, he actually mentioned that like this event was one of the ones that people were the most excited about, which is wicked. Like there's a huge following for Grid Life in the South because of Road Atlanta. Unfortunately, that whole thing dissolved. That's a whole episode to itself. And then Grid Life at the Glen, so Watkins Glen, New York. So another like incredible historic racetrack
that doesn't let anybody do anything ever. And
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I think the success of Lime Rock last year opened up these tracks.
I agree.
Right. Because now track owners are going, wait a minute, this isn't just a bunch of festivals, a bunch of people ruining stuff. And then I'm sure they got the metrics and the dollar amounts and the concession sales and all that stuff and went, okay, we need in.
Yeah.
We can't be just doing club weekends. Like one of these festivals could make our year.
Like parking, like just to charge for parking alone is probably going to make them more than they would have seen from several club weekends. So thank you, track owners. Thank you for young people finally moving into a position of power is also what I'm going to probably put this to.
Likely.
Yes. Rev Up Weekend, which is cool. So it's like a week or two before Southwest or before Gingerman Festival, which is neat because now it's allowing the local guys to get their cars dialed in because with the festivals, like track time is going to be limited because now you've got drifting in. I think that's also where they're doing HPDE. So now there won't be any HPDE at the festival, which is kind of cool because to be honest with you, it's really hard to watch. Like, not to sound shitty, it's people learning.
It is what it is.
It's people learning. Nobody wants to watch somebody learn to do something. It's you don't. Right. You want to be entertained by an expert. Nobody's like, you know what I really enjoy is watching somebody learn how to take something apart. No, it's like I want to watch a master repair a Rolex. Not fucking some guy learn how to take apart his first watch. Sometimes it's funny, but it's entertaining for the wrong reason at that point.
But it gets old fast too, right?
So that Midwest Festival.
Yeah, the Midwest. Yeah.
Watkins Glen is a festival though. Just to go back to that. So, which is wild.
Also, I believe drift is supposed to be allowed there as well.
Anywhere there's a festival, there should be drifting. So the festival is like arcade. They broke it out. So like, you know exactly what you're getting.
And color coded it and all this stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Very, very well put together.
I liked it.
Yes. After that is Autobahn in Chicago. Super cool track. They've been there a bunch in Joliet, Illinois. New Jersey Motorsport Park for a club weekend. So non-festival, but like cool track, unique track. I like that they're bridging out. They're getting to that Northeast as well. Like it's very well thought out. Once again, none of this was by accident at all.
No.
Midsummer Meets Mid-Ohio, Lexington, Ohio. Pretty cool. Another festival. Then Circuit Legends back at Lime Rock, which will be a festival. Is sick. And then back down to Heartland in Kansas. Wait, KS is Kansas?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
That's a club weekend. Then Street Special at Willow at Willow Springs, Streets of Willow, which is a fucking super cool track, which is another club weekend. And then Laguna Seca. And like I said, they had Alpine Horizons as like we're still figuring that shit out. So
that was the TBD, right?
It may or may not even happen. And like, as much as I've never actually been to an Alpine, I've been to every Midwest other than the ones in COVID. Not that I don't care, but like, I'd just still rather go to
Laguna Seca, and I stopped listening to everything else. That's my favorite track. Yeah, I said, okay, yeah. So when are we going?
It was. It's incredible. I don't think they have this up on their website yet. I found this on Track Midwest, which is like the kind of the unofficial home of everything Grid Life, which is super cool. I mean, I'm pumped. So that's all I can say is like, I'm absolutely pumped. in whatever regard, I am participating in it as a contractor, as as an advertiser there, as just an attendee. I am excited. So yeah,
it's going to be a busy year, right? Like there's no boring events. Obviously, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but it just seems like there's so much stuff where it's like every month there's 2 to 3 where you're like, I have to go. Yeah. I have to go to these. And that's going to be difficult. You might as well just start saving your pennies now and just be part of that traveling circus for the whole year. Because you're not going to want to miss any.
Yeah. I would say based on the FD schedule, based on this, based on the F1 schedule, based on even some of the stuff that I'm seeing come out of like other racing series, this like 2023 could go down as one of like the greatest years in racing in America. And I know I'm not even touching NHRA or Indy or drag race, like, or NASCAR. I know I'm not, like, these are just the things I am actively consuming. Like, I passively consume the rest. Like, if I hear about it, I'm like, okay, we'll put that somewhere back here. But like, holy shit, this is going to be insane. That your passport's going to get a workout this year. I know mine is. Like, I'm already, right. I'm already like, I don't know how. Jess and I have started mapping it out to figure out how it's going to work. I saw
the board even when I was there, and my wife said the same thing. She's like, you're going to have to start, paying attention to when weekends are, like when these events are and which ones you can actually make. Because I mean, for us, it's a double-edged sword too, because we work so many of them that we can't go to them all. Like, you sometimes need to have somebody back at their workstation to be able to do what we do.
Yep.
But we're definitely going to have to make it out to a couple. And Laguna Seca, if it can happen, that's the one.
We are going. We are going.
Yeah.
Pending natural disaster, pending whatever, we are absolutely going to that.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. So we will set up like an official, unofficial ZZX meetup there. So when the tickets go on sale, get tickets. Let's set something up. Fuck it. Maybe we'll buy a booth and just to have somewhere to hang out. Like,
just to have some shade.
The booth prices aren't that bad. Like, once you look at like, once you like actually factor everything in, because it usually comes with some sort of camping pass, it might actually make sense for me to get a booth to just hang out in.
Yeah.
Oh,
why not?
Yeah. Cool, man. We did this one like really quick. We're only like 42 minutes. This is wild.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else we hadn't touched on. I mean, for the most part, we got everything. It's you said NHRA, and I just like was thinking about some
John
funny
Force
moments involved. Yeah. Yeah. I just anybody that was at PRI, you already know.
There's a good chance you know. And if it hasn't hit like YouTube and shit like that, I'm not going to be the one to break that news. But
no, but it's great time.
John Force got on stage and we learned why he is a living legend.
Yeah.
That man has comedic ability, drag racing ability, business ability. There's very few things that man can't do or won't do, which we learned.
Yeah. He just, and no shame, just
so cryptic. I'm sorry.
Tell your story.
I'm sorry. Maybe one day it'll get leaked. Yeah, I don't think there's any like major announcements. I know you and I have to figure out what we're going to do about the podcast during the holiday break. I mean, we'll figure it out as we go.
We'll see what happens. And I mean, obviously it also, if there's anything newsworthy that happens in the industry, obviously we'll sit down and do a podcast about it. But I mean, I'm sure we can find some time over the holidays to do another one. There's always stuff to talk about. So
yeah. And I think we do have to get a podcast channel, if we don't already have one, up in Discord. So if you guys have ideas or things you want us to talk about or cover, automotive, like it to be some sort of marketing general. I mean, we can always bring it around to marketing. That's not hard. Well, by the time this goes out, we will have that channel up in Discord. You can find all the recent episodes in there. And then if you have ideas, we'll start a chat thread and then we'll read through that before our show and maybe those become talking points. So, cool. Well, let's get into, our free sponsored segment. So if you didn't catch it at the top of the episode, we are going to reserve the last few minutes of every show to do a shout out to somebody who submits to us. So you can email us at, podcast at zzx.digital. Shoot us an email.
Not .com. It's zzx.digital.
.digital, because
people always get it wrong. So
super weird like that. And I thought it was a great idea, and it's turned into more of a pain in the ass than it's worth. But yeah, send us over your channel, send us over a brief description, things you want us to talk about, things you want us to highlight. And we're going to do them in order as we get them. As long as they're like not ridiculous. We hope that they're automotive based. I think that should be a caveat. Yeah. They have to be automotive based in some way. This is an automotive and marketing podcast. So, first one up is from Tyson, who is actually somebody I know. So thank you, Tyson, for getting that far. Tyson is the videographer and editor for the Chrome to Envy YouTube channel, which is based around a buddy of mine since college named Randy Alway, who's a welder and fabricator out of a small town called Smithville, Ontario, which probably nobody knows what that is. That's fine. Feel free to look it up.
I mean, I know where it is.
Yeah. Randy, welder, fabricator, general badass. Lots of cool stories about him. He worked on the Monster Energy motocross tour. I believe he went to like clown school as well. He's like my Steve-O is probably the best way I can explain him. Just a total badass.
Hopefully that's not a dig.
No, he's not a drug addict. We're good. And Steve-O's recovered for like 12 years now. Anyways.
Yeah. There you go.
So Randy is into dirt track, circle track, whatever you want to call it. Runs a Mustang, is 2.3 liter. So I think they call it like, I don't know what actual class of racing that is. And I'm sorry. I always thought it was Thunder Stock or Thunder Modified. I know there's a bit of a difference. Either way, it's like mostly front wheel drive. He has stuck rear wheel drive with the Mustang. His YouTube channel is basically chronicling everything in regards to that. He also has some cool fabrication tips on there. Some really cool stuff. The video quality in the last couple of months since Tyson came on is like massively improved. Tyson is very clearly shooting with the Sony. You'll see, we're going to put a link down below for the channel trailer. I feel like I have a really good eye to figure out what people are shooting on. If you don't have that eye, Sonys do blacks and grays and whites incredibly well, but are a little weird everywhere else. Whereas like Canons do skin tones incredibly well, but are a little weird everywhere else. And then you've got Panasonic that just does whatever the fuck Panasonic wants to do.
Yeah, can't focus on anything.
Yeah, and this is mine shot on a Panasonic. Kyle's a shot right now on a Canon. If you want to contrast the two. And then you've got those weird Nikon people. Although there is like, I won't even get into the Nikon people. Although Fujifilm, the new Fuji cameras that are coming out are fucking nuts.
That's what I was going to get was a Fuji before
mini
I picked
stock.
up the Canon.
Said in the email, I should have there you go,
mini stock.
So racing at Maryville Speedway.
I know the email just came in, right? Like yesterday. So I mean, it's
perfect timing. Thursday,
yesterday, the day before,
6:10 p.m. So
there we go.
Love the channel. I've been a part of it on my other channel, which is Pissnet Productions. If you want to go check that, it's not very active, but there's a lot of cool shit there. Randy is in there quite a lot. So if you do like his stuff, you can check out some of that stuff. But I highly recommend, we'll put it in the show notes, if I remember, down below. Really cool channel. Super cool guys. His right-hand man, and I can't fucking remember his name. The guy that works with Randy is hilarious. I can't remember his name, and I feel bad. There's Johnny who works with them, and then there's another guy who's like really little and wily and like crazy. I'm just watching the trailer right now. Anyways, please go take a look at it. And obviously if you want to be featured, if you want to be next on it, hit us up.
Hit us up.
Literally just email us, podcast at zzx.digital, not .com, not .ca, not .org, .digital. And we will get you in queue. So I'm happy that we got to do it. I'm happy that the first one was a very good friend of mine with an incredible channel that deserves a lot more followers. Cool. Anything else you want to go over, or is that pretty much it?
I think that's it. Like, we're doing great on time.